Yes, as I mentioned, I'm Sunil Subedar from the Netherlands near Amsterdam. Um, and Rahul Sharma is a very good friend of me. So based on that, I'm happy to give the webinar for you all. Um, let's start with the agenda. So we will discuss about the introduction, a small introduction about the cybersecurity, the certifications, some of those career part, the trainings opportunities, and at the end there are options to ask your question. And hope I can and will be able to answer your question. So this is brief who I am and what I'm doing. 28 years in the IT field, worked for more than 18 years as a freelancer contractor in the Netherlands, actually in Europe, and more than 8 years in the cybersecurity field. Um, hold 18 cybersecurity certifications, follow more than 31 cybersecurity trainings. At the left side, you will see some of the clients, international clients. There are a lot of local clients also. I'm speaking fluent Dutch, English, Hindi, Bhojpuri also. Um, Born in Suriname, but our grandparents are from India. So that's the reason I speak also Hindi and Bhojpuri. Some of the roles, what I have been done or still doing, penetration testing, SOC engineer, senior security engineer, forensic investigation, and PKI certificate. And at the right side, you will see some of the branches where I have been work or still working. I'm certified instructor and also certified instructor from another company who also delivered cybersecurity trainings. There's a brief overview about some of those certifications, what I have from mostly from EC Council. Since 2015, I'm a certified ethical hacker, and some of the other kind of trainings what I have followed during the years. The last recently is the CCISO, the certified Chief Information Security Officer, also from EC Council. Um, so that are brief background and some of the certification what I hold. So when we are checking and seeing what's going on in cybersecurity field, some of the news items. This is one of the cyber intelligence of the Europe, where we are checking and all of kind of security awareness and alerts. They have found the top 20, the top 15 kind of threat in the landscape into worldwide actually. Malware, web-based attack, phishing. So actually all of those which you are able to see in the screen will be covered in the certified ethical hacker training with a meaning and in depth about all those topics, how to prevent it. So using the medications to be sure that you are not able to become an and be hacked as a personal point of view, but also from a company point of view. So that are some of them what has been mentioned. Of course, the training will contain more of them. About the training contains 20 modules. The Ethical Hacker version 11 training is the 5-day training. Split it up in around 40 hours. You will get the international certifications and exams. Options to do the exam proctored online also. So proctored means that one of the instructors or one of the persons is checking what you are doing during your exams. You are not able to leave the room and nobody is able to enter the room also. So those kind of exams will be done, but you are also able to do it on location. There are hands-on labs available during this training, and you can also use those labs to understand the practical of those trainings, what will be discussed during those 20 modules. So this and I pick up just the module one to give you an overview what kind and how it look like. So in the basics introduction of ethical hacker, you will find this kind of topics will be discussed. what is a TTP, what is a IOC, how will the kill chain attack methodology work. So all those items will be discussed in depth, and during the class you will get more understanding. For now, I'm just showing you briefly what they are. Of course, I can't in this 1 hour, I can't discuss all those items. So this overview of that. What is ethical hacker actually? The goal of ethical hacker is actually to help the system network administrator to understand better the process of the asset what they manage. So if a system or network administrating is managing their network, they should be able to be aware what's going on based on the security items. How one hacker should be able to uh, come inside the network and what kind of possibilities they are have. So that is briefly the description about ethical hacker. And the ethical hacker meaning is also that you are having the written permission to do a hack. Without the word ethical hacking, so it means hacking, that means that you are hacking something without having permission. And doing that, you will get a penalty, or the jail is also one of the options. In some countries, you will get also be punished and should be able to go to jail. But most of the countries also use huge penalties to pay the fine for those kind of attacks. Uh, so that is briefly about ethical hacker. So to understand a bit about the cybersecurity, some of the basics what will be used is these three items you will see very often back in the cybersecurity field. Even you are doing on the technical part as ethical hacker, or on the management part as an chief information security officer, they are all dealing with this kind of items. So the first one to see is to protect from unauthorized viewers. So if somebody want to get those information, how you should be able to protect it. The I for integrity is the data. Is the data complete and accurate? Or are somebody misusing or changing the data between or during the transfer from A to B? Are you sure that nobody have manipulate your data? So that part is high, and availability, because based on if your systems are not available, um, they should be able also to have a security risk, or more kind of reputation risk is also related to that. So on the availability, I have a small sample. So we'll look later on. So here is actually a bit more on about those three items, the CIA trade, and some of the samples, what has been mentioned. So as example, as for the availability, I'll explain you one of the terms which you will hear is the DDoS. The DDoS is actually, and I will actually show it by this picture. So you will see on highway in India somewhere, the highway is very empty. So everybody should be able to go from A to B. So in this situation, maybe they are going to Agra. So you should be able to take your car and just drive on it. So in a normal situation, if you are browsing to booking.com or Trivago website or an hotel website, you should be able to go and enter the website and click the hotel or flight tickets what you want. You should be able to pick it up, and you should be able to order it and get your do your payment, and you should get a confirmation that you have booked. But what happens if somebody put too many traffic on it? So a distributed denial of services, where the system will be overloaded and not able to go further. So you will find this kind of situation. So now I'm not able to go from E to B. So the system and has been occur a jam. So in this jam situation, I'm not able to go. So in my situation where I was booking on an hotel website or somewhere where I want to book, I will get an error message, the page is not available. So I'm not able to go further and do anything with the booking. So that is what hackers are using. They send so many traffic to those network um, to be sure that your site is not available. So this is a sample, one of the samples. During the training, you will get a lot of samples. How to avoid it, how to do a DDoS attack, you will learn. But if you know how to do it, you should be also and learn also how to prevent it. So those kind of parts will be discussed during the training. So that is a bit about the basics on very basics on cybersecurity. So let's proceed and get about some of the degree certifications what are required or could be able to get. So for qualifications, we're seeing this kind of training will be handy or useful for persons who are from the universities under or post-graded students. They should be able to join this kind of training. If you don't meet those requirements, don't worry, you can also do the normal certifications. So the exams, what I mentioned in the begin, those kind of exams you are able to do. But yeah, you need to prepare and do the labs, and because based on your exams you will get also some practical questions. So doing then those labs help you also to understand it. By doing some internships, you should be able to get those qualification and to do, of course, and that is also one of the important part, is to do and get experience into this field. Of course, not only on the technical field, but also persons from the business schools who are joining and having a background in project management, Scrum, or those kind of project management roles, they should be also able to join and take this kind of clarifications. So if you're checking on the salaries, it's an overview of 2019. You will see an average salary of a person with 3 years cybersecurity experience. I will mention you should have those experience as a security operation engineer. In US, you will earn yearly about 76,000 USD. Um, and Latin America and the South American, so what a bit less. Europe also a rate, and in APEC countries. So I converted also for Indian, it's about 27 lakh on yearly basis. It's just other persons without holding those certifications. So it makes sense maybe to get the certifications if you want to increase your salaries, hopefully. So you will see the increasement. So, and you will see in some continentals not so much, but in some you will see huge difference. And for India, it's almost twice. So that makes sense why those certifications are important. It's not only in the APEC countries, but also with those international certifications, you should be able to move across the world, work in Europe, US, or from India, you should be able to work also in Singapore, Malaysia, Australia, etc. So that make also sense, because without having those certifications, it's hard to get a job outside. But of course, also in India, they are looking for those kind of certifications, especially those enterprise companies, the largest one. If you are working for them, you will see it. And then at the end, have also one of the vacancy where you are able to see what the minimum requirements and how they set up those requirements. So these are some of those motivations where and why persons try to move and get those certifications. So as I mentioned, getting more money is one of the reasons, but there are also more reasons. You should be able to just do the certification to be sure that you have improved your skills or able to use it. So from my personal point of view, this was the main reason what I was doing and why I was trying to get those certification, doing the trainings or self-study later on and get those certification. Also, number two was also one of the reason. If you want to learn more, then it's also one of the important part to do it and go further and get those certifications. So you will see some of the reasons why. If you in some fields, if you want to become an expert, you should be able also go there, do it, and by preparing the exams and getting those certifications, uh, you can also mention and put it on your resume. But also the last one here, if you make a cybersecurity move to another company, will also be in your benefit. So those topics, some of those topics we will discuss later on also. So before going actually and mentioning something, I just want to mention this small disclaimer, maybe known for the most of you, but even then I will mention it. So by following this kind of training and learning about those tools, and a lot of open source tools are also available, just installing that and just using that don't makes you a good ethical hacker, as I mentioned. So by doing that, it's illegal. So be sure that if you are doing this kind of investigation, even checking the websites, mobile devices, or something else, you need to have a permission to do it. So be aware. And for this webinar, we are just, and during the training, you will also see you need to sign also those kind of agreement and disclaimers that you are or using those knowledge for a professional way, and don't misuse it. So starting that, what's a cybercrime? Because we will discuss about cybersecurity, but first we also use the term cybercrime. So the cybercrime is actually, and especially now these days, you will see this very often, where they use a computer or mobile devices, actually somewhere where a processor has been added or a computer kind of stuff, who are able to do it and use that for a crime. So nowadays, in the beginning, it was mostly only computers, but now you will see you can do all those stuff also with your mobile devices or tablet, or a lot of those kind of movement will be go. So that is the part where we are. And if you are, the police will catch you and will say, okay, you are use your computer. Then by doing something what's illegal, that's one of the part of cyber crime. The cybersecurity is the part where we are trying to protect the computer systems and the network, as I mentioned, by be sure that those systems will not damage or stolen by those kind of hackers. So you try to protect it. So that is the main part actually on cybersecurity, where we are trying to be sure and be sure that your system will be available. So that is brief about cybersecurity part. We'll move forward to the functions and some of the roles. Mostly persons mention, yeah, but cybersecurity is a small field. There are not so many roles, not so many jobs available. I will tell you, with my experience in those more than 8 years, um, and during those this slides and the coming slides, you will see there are more than only the one simple ethical hacker role or jobs. So first, what we are seeing is the movement from IT persons, persons with IT skills and knowledge. They try to and are able to move into the cybersecurity field. So if you put all those persons with those kind of background, system engineer, network engineer, Citrix engineer, developers, just you call it, or just an enterprise architect, um, those should be able to follow and go into the field where they should be able to become a technical cybersecurity person. But if you're saying at the right side, the persons who are more into the business, or the help desk engineers or change managers, so there are not the technical persons, but also dealing with a lot of stuff doing and in a cybersecurity field, they should be able to be, and we will put it on the non-technical part of cybersecurity. So these are some of those non-technical cybersecurity roles what are currently available. There are more, but I've just put some of them. Security Information Office Manager, the Security Operation the SOC, we call it a short name, SOC manager, security operations, chief information security officer, the CISO. So security scrum master, cyber insurance policies. So that you will see also those movement with insurance company and also the cybersecurity lawyers. Uh, 5 years, 10 years ago, if you ask somebody, oh, you are a lawyer, but then he shouldn't say I'm a lawyer in the cybersecurity field. So there's some new roles that are now also available. Um, but also data privacy officers are not only in Europe and US, but also across the world. We are seeing this kind of roles are also moving. Cloud security architect and the cloud security engineers are also a bit technical, but it's a mix between it. But also those kind of roles you will see. So these are some of those non-technical roles. He will find some of the technical roles, and most of the names should be familiar or you have been seen. Intrusion detector analyst, cyber operations specialist, um, application security administrator. The PKI is from the PKI certificates, public key certificate, infrastructure, um, automotive security. Nowadays, all the cars are going electrical, so on that part, the security need to also be arranged. Blockchain engineers, bug bounty hunters, so etc. There are some of the digital forensics investigator, of course, the ethical hackers. There are more, so you will find, and there are more. I'm just grab some of them. It's about 36, but we can easily, on the technical part, we can easily make more than 55 or 60 kind of roles what are currently available. The pen testers. Some of the roles I will discuss directly after this slide. Not all of them because it will take a lot of time, but based on my own experience, I will share some of the information. So as I mentioned, the SOC, the Security Operations Center, on a SOC level 1 is mostly the field where you should be able to, with the IT background, you should be able to jump into this field. Mostly what they are doing is working, detecting the threats, analyzing those alerts, all kind of security incidents, what they are getting, they are checking. And in this situation, all kind of security. So this means also physical security. If somebody try to enter the building without a badge or something like that, then it's also a part of security, and they will give you an advice to the business or the departments how and what they should be able to do to prevent it. They are also more in the supportive role. For security operations centers, they are the SPOC, the single point of contact. So any security breaches or anything related to security, you should be able to mention that by the level 1 specialist. They work mostly based on work instruction, what has been rated by seniors, raised the security tickets and assigned it to the SOC level 2. There's the more media advanced person or team. They are mostly dealing with monitoring. They monitor the threats and alert what has been mentioned. And they prioritize those alerts. They work with a lot of endpoint protections, the virus scanners, but also the advanced virus scanners, um, and also about monitoring the threat, malwares, ransomware, etc., and try to detect it. So that is one of the roles what after doing those kind of trainings you should be able to join. So what kind of skills is required to become this? And you will see this very often, this kind of structure. You will see you should have a basic infrastructure and network skills, IT experience, um, how to make incident ticketing reporting part, basic knowledge about cloud, especially Azure, the AWS, and those kind of cloud knowledge is become also a requirement. Basic security skills, nice to have, knowing what threat and vulnerabilities, TTPs, and all those kind of things. knowing and be aware about and updating your skills about Windows, Linux, Mac, Android, why all those systems. And during the ethical hacker class, you will also deal with all those other operating system also, because a hacker is not only using Windows or Linux, they use all. They don't care if they need to come inside your building or inside your server or data center. They try all the kind of tools what they are available. So you need to be, as a security operation engineer or specialist, you should be able to have those knowledge. On monitoring is more the SIEM, the System Information Event Management tool, where they are able to get dashboard and see what's going on. So those kind of, as sample, ArcSight is from HP, or Splunk is one of the most used one. Those kind of tools we will see very often be used to monitor. As I mentioned, endpoint protection, knowing about endpoint protection. So these are some of the basic skills you need to have to get this kind of roles. The SOC level 2 is of course between the 1 and the 3. So I have my own experience about the SOC level 3. So I put that on paper. What I was doing is I was advising on change processes, security change processing. On Prio 1, so the most critical in security incidents, I was dealing on it. I provide also some security awareness across the organization, doing some forensic investigations processes to improve those processes also. Was also doing some technical support on it based on PKI certificates, supporting the SOC level 1 and SOC level 2, implementing those SIM solutions, supporting on the pen testing, deliver this mean the critical vulnerabilities, give them advice on that, and doing some analysis on malware. Also give a part of training between and within the organization, how to use the proper endpoint protection, advanced threat detection, and set up and train also the SOC level 1 and 2 specialists on using the sandboxing. Um, mm, and sandboxing is actually the virtual machines, what you are using if you have detect a malware, and you don't want that malware will be run on your computer, but because if it's malware, it can affect your computer. With sandboxing, you are able to create a separate VM and separate isolated VM where you are able to run that malware. And by running that, you should be able to investigate and doing analysis to see if there is a malware or not, without affecting your system or the entire network. So that is a part of sandboxing. I was also working, dealing in some of those projects related to security lifecycle management, improving the SOC team, and also dealing with some international set. Are the emergency response teams, each country, and actually across the world, you have a lot of them. So where they are dealing with the international and the national cybersecurity emergency issues. For more than 1 year, I've also worked as a pen tester. Here are some of the part what I was doing during the pen testing. I will go very quickly on that due to time limitation, but that are more the advanced roles after ethical hacking or some of those other trainings. You should be able to go further on a pen tester. Dealing with customers, contacting them, or discussing which kind of pen testing they want, how and what should be in scope, what should be out scope. So are we doing the whole pen test of the whole organization, or only a web server or an application? So those kind of part we need and will be discussed. The agreements what we need, you need to have the proper waivers, and the NDAs are the non-disclosure agreement. So even when I was working as a pen tester, I should have a written approval that I'm able to do the pen test for the client. in this situation. I was working for the government of Netherlands as a pen tester, where I should be able to ask my the highest level in the in the line to give me an formal approval. My manager was not able to give me an approval. That approval was not enough to be sure that I'm getting a proper NDA. So those kind of stuff you will learn. But yeah, for the pen testing there are separate training, but to getting the basics it's good. Information gathering, it will be discussed in the ethical hacker training. How to collect, what is OSINT, preparation, scanning, those parts will be discussed. So it's also a part what a pen tester will do. And then you will use the tools, the applications. You follow some extra trainings when needed on specified some of those pen testers, and then actually you will try to hack the system, use the exploits. Exploit part will also be discussed in ethical hacker training. So those kind of roles, you should be able to do it, and of course you need also be able to create a proper with the international standards, the reporting what need to be discussed, and those reports should be on technical level as on management level. So that are some of those roles. When I was checking last year, the jobs, the top jobs, what are available, you will see that in US, UK, and Europe, the most vacancy was for ethical hacker, threat hunting, malware, SOC level 1, 2, and 3 kind of specialists, the CISOs, and the cybersecurity managers. If you're checking in India, Singapore, especially for those areas I had checked, you will see that at that time, 1 year ago, network security engineers was the most willing part. The SOC level 1, 2, 3 also, security architect, the managers, and the CISOs. So, but as I mentioned, it was 1 year ago. So it could be changed now, or uh, there are some changes on it. This is one of the sample what I get to if you see, and this is a real vacancy what I have received in Amsterdam last year when they was looking for a cybersecurity or an ethical hacker engineer. Uh, you need to have at least 2 to 5 years work experience. As I mentioned in the previous slide, why works experience is important. You should have knowledge about the security tools, knowing about Linux and Windows, at least knowing some basics about it's nice to have about some programming languages. So mostly we will use Python and fluent in English. Even this vacancy was in the Netherlands. They are also looking with persons with English. In this situation, they was also looking with persons who was able to speak Dutch. But okay, but you will see also some certifications or equal look like certifications what are required. So summary, hands-on experience, Linux, Windows, programming, knowing the English language, and having the certificates. Okay, then how to start the career in cybersecurity? How and where you should be able to start, and which kind of direction you want to go. So this is the part where we will discuss about it. My advice will be first determine which domains you like. So we call it domains, the big balls what you are seeing as offensive, physical, defensive, security operations, education, software part, management part, or the architecture part. Those are the main domains where you should be able to mention I like that field. And based on those fields, you will see example by offensive, by using scanning techniques, pen testers, going more into and knowing how the networking is working, how to use Wireshark or those kind of tools to sniff the network, what's red teaming, and how to use mobile hacking tools. So those kind of part will be discussed more in that part. So based on that, you will see a lot of mix. As I mentioned, the security operations center, the SOC 1, 2, and 3 are more into the SOC level, at the upper part, incident response. Some cases they have a forensic team on it, some not. So based on that, you should be able to make your switch which and not all of them you are able to do. So advice will be focus on one or two of those domains which you like. So example on the software part, if you are a software developer on a PHP example or Java, then it makes sense to understand more about the software security part on your field. So knowing more about web security, how front end, back end websites are working, knowing more about MySQL or SQL. So those kind of fields could be mostly easier for you to join. On security operations center and SOC, you will see also those defensive part where they are dealing with endpoint protection, DLP, data loss protection, threats, and how to prevent it, how to block it. So those kind of opportunities there are. If you are more in the architecture or management field, you will see those blue one uh, um, discussing about on high levels or in depth about the risk management, and on the architecture part you will see, and that field is also growing now, because in the past you will have only an architecture enterprise part and some security part, but now you need to also have the cloud security part, should be added, all those kind of advanced architecture will be in place. IoT have been added. They are also using AWS, Azure, or Docker kind of systems, Kubernetes and kind of stuff. So they put all those stuff now together there. So this is an overview where my advice will be try to focus on some of those domain if you want to go and move into this field. So as an example, I mentioned if you want to start, you can go straight. It's the shortest way to get your goal. But in most of the, and especially from my experience point of view, that shouldn't be always the best way. In some situations, you need to go and take an bypass. And going example by the technical part on offensive, join those ethical hacker training, become an ethical hacker, work and do experience on ethical hacker king part. Based on that, you will also learn more about the threat hunting, malware kind of specialist. So those kind of roles are mixed there. Based on that, you should be able to go forward to a pen tester, bug bounty tester, or those kind of roles. Or on the part where we don't want to go to the technical part, yeah, then in some situation you can, and you have at least needed those basics before you are able to go and become an CISO. Even a security officer, a security cybersecurity lawyer should be able to know what's going on basics on cybersecurity, knowing maybe something about incident handling or what a threat is or how malware is working. So those knowledge is required. So if you are checking and seeing how you should be able to proceed, then my advice will be try to use this kind of planning where you are at the begin, try to make a preparation and do your planning and your prerequisites. If you are in the non-IT and non-engineering field, you should be able to have a separate track. If you are in the engineering and IT field, you could have a separate track, get the experience and follow those trainings and certifications. We'll go one by one by those steps to see how you should be able to get the skills. So the first one on the preparation. So by starting something, it don't make sense tomorrow I will become something in cybersecurity. You need to have and meet at least some of those requirements. Uh, you should be able to willing to learn, and the keep learning and eager to learn mentality should be inside you. By saying just learn this and the coming 3 years I don't want to learn, will not help you to get a job and also not to be up to speed what's going on. So you're interested in hacking and cybersecurity, how they are able to come inside your network, or how do you able to prevent. So those curiosity and a passion should be in you to be sure that you are able to understand. You should be interested in one of those, of some of those roles what are available. You should be able to learn English or willing to learn English, reason I already mentioned, and you should be able to work on a structured way and use a kind of planning. So if you meet all those requirements or almost all of them, and it's not that tomorrow you need to meet all those them, and some you can work, then you are able to say, yeah, I'm a bit prepared and I should be able to move the switch into this field. So how do you do that? Just create a planning. If you are normally in a colleges or schools, or you want to become something after 2 years, 5 years, you are also able to create a planning. So in this situation, you should be also make your planning. Those domains, what I mentioned, choose some of those domains if there are some interesting domains into those fields. Try to find a mentor or somebody who was able to teach you, help you, and support you if you don't know what to do. On the mentor part, I will mention a bit more, because especially in the cybersecurity field, also across the world, and also on LinkedIn and a lot of social medias, there are a lot of vulnerable volunteers available and will be able to support persons into this field. So it's a very open field where persons are willing to help each other. Be flexible in those domains. As I mentioned, those domains, and why you need to be flexible. If you are focusing, example, on forensic, and due to some reason there are no jobs and no uh, extra add-ons on those forensics, and you're saying, yeah, but I'm get my forensic certification, but I'm not able to get a job, then be able to fix it and solve it and go to in one of those other fields, example on the offensive, on the security operation field. Also for those fields, those basics are required. You can't become a forensic without understanding and knowing how a hard disk encryption is working, what a key certificate is. So all those basics is required. But yeah, for now you are not able to find a job into forensics. Will not mention that you need to quit and go and to do another kind of jobs outside the cybersecurity field. So that is important part, to be flexible on it. As I mentioned, on those planning and the prerequisites, and that some of those, try to get your mindset and be sure that you are able to understand what's going on by following the security awareness trainings or online, and try to think also how hackers are thinking. That's easy part to do. You don't need to spend a lot of money on that. Just type on Google cybersecurity news, the second one, and read at least one item what has been done. You will find on daily basis a lot of those kind of news, what's going on. Based on that, you should be able to familiar what's going on. You should be able to focus and try to find points where you should be able to say, oh, that is interesting. I want to go more into this field. So those kind of topics will be, and you will get the knowledge and know what's going on in this field. Join those professional groups, as I mentioned already, and you will get a lot of also some free knowledge, and also PDF ebooks available. I'm not saying that you need to only follow those rules, but you are also able to get and share information and knowing what's going on. Of course, books, if you are interested in some of those books or e-books, you should be able to read those books. A lot of free subscriptions and webinar and conference are available, such as this, but there are a lot of them. Also, a lot of governments is providing this for free. Try to join it. Even it's not directly into your field, but try to join it, going on, see what's going on. Um, Example, today I was joining one of the webinar in the morning about in the European about the privacy part, privacy officers part, how to be sure you are able to deal with privacy part. It's a non-technical one, but even you should be able to learn or pick up some information, what and how they are dealing with those kind of privacy, human privacy informations. So there are a lot of them free available, but also the enterprise companies, the Microsoft, the Google, the LinkedIn, or you call it, they have also free webinars or webinars where you should be able to join. Of course, the colleges, the classes, and the training. So that should be also, and based on those kind of training, you should be able to earn your certifications. So that is the part where the certification part. So without doing, of course, all the others one beside the 6 and 7 is good, where you should be able to be interested and knowing what's going on in this field. So if you put some of them for non-engineering and non-ITs, we have created some basic trainings. You should be able to join those kind of basics. But for the engineering part, the right side, you will see, as I mentioned almost earlier, you need to have at least basic IT knowledge, programming knowledge, some knowing about Linux, Windows servers, and be sure that your knowledge is up to date. So knowing everything about Server 2012 don't make sense for now, because we are now using Server 2019 and 2016. So you should be able to up to speed and knowing what's going on. So that is one of the part, if you want to make your decision. So it's easier for persons from IT background to jump into this field. And of course, not all you don't need to become a Java or a Python guru, but knowing some basics help you. So the experience, how you are able to get the experience and do the experience. You can work as volunteer, especially if you are on working or on colleges, or you should be able to do some part-time or supporting organizations who are setting up this kind of environment, webinars supporting on that, but also a lot of cybersecurity related stuff. You should be able to be a fall in it. Internships, yeah, if companies are delivering internships, you should be able to join. As you heard, there are a lot of companies who are also delivering this. So part-time job in the IT, if you are not from the IT field, try to get or part-time or full-time. Of course, if you have the IT work experience is also good. And also to get to your experience, if you are already in the cybersecurity field, should be able to get your experience. Actually, to summarize the part on the career is join those webinar events, make your decision if you want to become a technical one or non-technical. Even if you can't make a decision is not the problem, but important is, are there some interested domains? How do you should be able to get those experience, and how and which kind of training you should be able to join. Of course, as I mentioned, the keep learning mentality should be also there. So the training part. So from the training part, you will see, and that is the track for the CEH Certified Ethical Hacker part, with some basics, network background, or CND or CCNA of Cisco. Those kind of networking understanding is nice to have, or good to have, to make your life easier to understand better on the ethical hacker training. Based on the ethical hacker training, you should be able to go to the pen testing. But there are more than going to the pen testing. You should be able also from the ethical hacker go to the forensics, or go to the cyber threat part, or going to the Java or .NET web security part. So a lot of them you should be able to make your decision after the ethical hacker part, or just stay on the ethical hacker part is also an option. So that brings me almost to the end of this presentation.